Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodha Nandana Praja Jana Ranjana. Yashodha Nandana Praja Jana Ranjana. Yashodha Nandana Praja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Iskcon's founder Srila Prabhupada ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Astottara Satashi Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की. श्री वृंदावन धाम की. मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की. नीलाचल जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की. गंगा माई की. यमुना माई की. भक्ति देवी की. Tulsi Maharani ki. Samaveta Bhaktavrinda ki. Shri Varaha Dwadasi Mahotsava ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
हरे कृष्णा. तो कुछ 2 मिनट प्रभु जी के बारे में बताऊंगा. तो प्रभु जी प्रेसिडेंट हैं साउथ अफ्रीका डरबन के, और मुझे भी सौभाग्य मिला था प्रभु के पास 6 महीने मैं वहां पर रहा था. और जैसे कि आप जानते हैं डरबन मंदिर के पूरे साउथ अफ्रीका में सबसे बड़ा मंदिर है, और पूरे अफ्रीका का सबसे बड़ा मंदिर है. और वहाँ पर प्रभु जी बहुत सालों से टेम्पल प्रेसिडेंट हैं, और उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा वहाँ पर एक भक्तों का समुदाय, बहुत बड़ा डिवोटी कम्युनिटी डेवलप किया है. बहुत अच्छे से वहाँ पर प्रचार कार्य हो रहा है. और साउथ अफ्रीका का जो फूड फॉर लाइफ प्रोग्राम है, बहुत बड़ा फूड फॉर लाइफ प्रोग्राम है. और प्रभु जी भक्ति चारू स्वामी महाराज के भी बहुत प्रिय हैं. और बहुत भक्त वहां पर बताते थे कि प्रभु जी का बहुत सारे, जैसे कि हम देखते हैं गिरिराज महाराज के भी वो सेक्रेटरी है, और उनको बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है. और मतलब बहुत भक्त बताते थे कि प्रभु जी ने मतलब इतने सारे महाराजों को सर्व किया है, इतने सारे सन्यासियों को इन्होंने सर्व किया है, जितने मतलब कोई भी इतने सन्यासियों को सेवा नहीं किया होगा, जितना अधिक एक्सपीरियंस प्रभु को सन्यासियों की सेवा का है. तो हमारा सौभाग्य है प्रभु जी यहाँ पर हैं, तो एक बार प्रभु जी के लिए एक बार हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र हम करेंगे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। इसका हिंदी अनुवाद पीछे होगा और प्रभु जी इंग्लिश में बोलेंगे और पीछे हिंदी में अनुवाद होगा। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we are continuing the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, commencing from text 8, and we will read until text 11. Which verse do we recite responsively, 8 or 11? 11. Yate sudretam anyogad atiti swabhir avrita Rajan mediyatam annam sagannaya babukshate. When the Sudra went away, another guest arrived, surrounded by dogs, and said, O king, I and my company of dogs are very hungry. Please give us something to eat. Sa adritya Vashishtam yad bahumana puraskritam tacha dattva namaschakre swabhya swapataye vibhu. With great respect, King Rantidev offered the balance of the food to the dogs and the master of the dogs who had come as guests. The king offered them all respects and obeisances. Paniyamatram uchesham tachchaika paritarpanam pasyata polkashobhyagad apodheya shubhaya me. Thereafter, only the drinking water remained, and there was only enough to satisfy one person. But when the king was just about to drink it, a Chandala appeared and said, O king, although I am low born, kindly give me some drinking water. And today's verse, please repeat. Tasya tam karunam vacham nishamya vipula shramam kripaya brisha santapta idam ahamritam vacha. Tasya tam karunam vacham nishamya vipulashramam kripaya brisha santapta idam ahamritam vacha. Tasya tam karunam vacham nishamya vipulashramam kripaya brisha santapta idam ahamritam vacha. Tasya tam karunam vacham Nishamya Vipulashramam Kripaya Vrishya Santapta Idam Aham Ritam Vacha. Nishamya Vipulashramam Kripaya Vrishya Santapta Idam Aham Ritam Vacha. Tasyatam Karunam Vacham Nishamya Vipulashramam Kripaya Vrishya Santapta Idam Aham Ritam Vacha. Vaishnavis. Tasyaham Karunam Vacham Nishamya Vipulashramam Kripaya Vrishya Santapta Idam Aham Ritam Vacha. Tasyatam Karunam Vacham Nishamya Vipulashramam Kripaya Vrishya Santapta Idam Aham Ritam Vacha. Tasyatam Karunam Vacham Nishamya Vipulashramam Kripaya Vrishya Santapta Idam Aham Ritam Vacha. Tasya, of him, the Chandal, tam, those, karunam, pitiable, vacham, words, nishamya, hearing, vipula, very much, shramam, fatigued, kripaya, out of compassion, brisha santapta, very much aggrieved, idam, these, aha, spoke, amritam, very sweet, vacha, words. Translation. Aggrieved at hearing the pitiable words of the poor fatigued Chandala, Maharaj Rantidev spoke the following nectarian words. Please repeat. Aggrieved at hearing the pitiable words of the poor fatigued Chandala, Maharaj Rantidev spoke the following nectarian words. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Rantidev's words were like amrita or nectar, and therefore, aside from rendering bodily service to an aggrieved person, by his words alone the king could save the life of anyone who might hear him. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. This section of Srimad Bhagavatam, here we're reading the description of Maharaja Rantidev, who is celebrated throughout the scriptures, even elsewhere in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Blessings are given to various personalities that they may become like Rantidev. Who was it? Parikshit Maharaj was also blessed by the Brahmanas when they were requested by Maharaj Yudhisthira to describe the future of this young child, this baby. And they described that may he become as magnanimous, broad-minded, and merciful and compassionate as Maharaj Rantidev. So Rantidev is famous for his charitable nature, his self-sacrificing nature, and his magnanimity, as we have read just yesterday, and we'll read in over a few more verses, how he was very, not in an obligatory way, not in a painful way, but he was very easily ready to share whatever he had. When I first read this pastime, this was well before I read the Bhagavatam, it was from another source. And I distinctly remember that how struck I was about the difference between Rantidev's nature of being so obliging and giving to my nature. That yes, I am taught to be charitable, I'm taught to be generous, but it takes me a while to do that. I mean, it may take a few moments, but I'm hesitant, just a little hesitant. Here we don't read of any form of hesitance on the part of Rantidev. It was so natural to him. Why is that? Because, like we read yesterday, he was situated on a platform of Samadarshi. Not in a Mayavad sense, but in a very devotional sense, seeing that every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mayavadis can also be seen to be Samadarshi. They see with equal vision everybody. All is one. But from them, the deep sense of compassion for the genuine welfare of someone is not really manifest. But here Rantidev, being a Mahabhagavat, as Prabhupada describes him to be in other places, connects everyone to Krishna and sees that their best welfare lay in the service and connection to Krishna. Therefore, he is willing, without any hesitation, to give whatever he has for the benefit of someone else. But here we find he is not just giving food and water and whatever he has to those persons who appear to be hungry. Of course, as you'll read later on, it was simply a test to glorify Rantidev by various demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Yamaraj, and so on. We find that he's not just giving food and water, but he's even giving spiritual knowledge, which is most essential. Here in this verse, and Prabhupada's purport, it's being described that Maharaja Rantidev's words are like Amrita. We can speak very pleasing words from time to time. We can flatter people, we can make people feel nice, and that may just comfort them for a little while. someone's going through some challenge, they have so many problems in life, and they're constantly lamenting about their situation, and we'll come and comfort them with some words. It's okay, we are here for you, here, sit down and eat something. But really what's going to happen is that our words just bring temporary peace and relief. Our giving them some water or some food or some clothing or shelter is just temporary. But what they really need to alleviate their suffering in a permanent way is transcendental knowledge. Because long as anyone who is suffering still identifies themselves with the body and tries to gratify themselves on the basis of the body and the senses, they will always suffer, no matter what we do to pacify them. No matter what we do to pacify them. So transcendental knowledge is what's required. With the sword of transcendental knowledge, those who receive it can cut through their connection, or they cut themselves from being bound to the material energy. So his words are like Amrita. Amrita means, we generally translate it as nectar. Charan Amrita, the nectar that's flowing from the Lord's lotus feet. But literally Amrita means death or dying. And Amrita means to reverse death or to stop death. That's the literal meaning of Amrita. So when the words are like Amrita, what he is speaking to this Chandal is words that will terminate the cycle of repeated birth and death for this person, for this Chandal. And this is Srimad Bhagavatam. It is full of nectar, full of Amrita. Every word, when recited with the right consciousness, the Srimad Bhagavatam, every word can stop us from dying. Did we ever think that when we're drinking Charanamrita, this is the cure for death? Do we have that conviction? Actually, today when I drink Charanamrita later, I must remember that. But this Charanamrita can reverse death, can stop death. The words of the Bhagavatam can stop death. That's why Parikshit Maharaj, he stopped everything when he was given notice. His 7 days. He was given 7 days in which to die by Shringi, and he stopped, and he wanted to bathe in Amrita. He could have done so many things. Such a powerful king, he is known as Vishnu Rata, one who is protected by the Lord. He could have counter-cursed, but rather the best approach, the best response he could present is to become free from death. And that is to hear the nectarian words from Shukadev Goswami. This was his approach. So here Rantidev, being a pure devotee, is not only sharing whatever he has, but he's also sharing the best of what he has. And that is his realization in Krishna consciousness, Amrita. So we find here we have the tendency, we are all, generally we are meant to be charitable, we have the nature of being charitable. But sometimes our charitable nature just goes to the surface of the problem. Together with our charitable nature as being presented by Rantidev, we must always share transcendental wisdom, transcendental knowledge. Otherwise, our service to the living entities is not complete. It's not fully complete. Just like we find Srila Prabhupada, he was very clear even about our food distribution. That we serve prasad, but we also accompany it with transcendental knowledge and the chanting of the holy names. Serving prasad on its own, yes, it's prasadam, it'll bring us closer to Krishna, it'll bring the recipients closer to Krishna, it'll purify their senses. But when it's accompanied by transcendental knowledge and chanting of the holy names, then it is perfect and complete. This was Prabhupada's vision for our temples and for our outreach, to serve people based on their needs, but especially giving transcendental knowledge, Amrita. Today is a very short purport, one sentence. So there's only so much we can speak about it, at least for me. Also today is the divine appearance of Sri Varahadev, the boar incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I thought to also recount that pastime of the appearance of Varahadev and his battle with Hiranyaksha, who is described in the Bhagavatam to be the first demon in the universe. And Brahma is, of course, the first demigod in the universe. And the Lord appeared to kill that demon. So we'll read from that section, the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and just remember this holy pastime of the Lord's appearance and the killing of Hiranyakashipu in this most fascinating and dramatic way by Lord Varahadev. So this is the third canto, 13th chapter, the appearance of Lord Varahadev. Before that, we can just recite the glorification of Lord Varahadev by Jayadev Goswami in his Dasavatar Stotra. Vashati Dashana Shikare Dharani Tavalagna Sashini Kalanka Kalave Nimagna Keshavadrita Sukkararupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. O Keshava, O Supreme Lord, who have assumed the form of a boar, O Lord, the planet rested on your tusks, and it appeared like the moon engraved with spots. Shri Varahadev ki. So we'll read from the 13th chapter of the third canto from text 15 onwards. Text 15. O Master of the demigods, this is Manu speaking to his father Brahma. Sorry. This is Brahma speaking to. No, this is Manu speaking to the demigod, to Brahma. O Master of the demigods, please attempt to lift the earth, which is merged in the great water, because it is the dwelling place for all the living entities. It can be done by your endeavor and by the mercy of the Lord. Sri Maitreya said, thus, seeing the earth merged in the water, Brahma gave his attention for a long time to how it could be lifted. Brahma thought, while I have been engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by a deluge and has gone down into the depths of the ocean. What can we do who are engaged in this matter of creation? It is best to let the Almighty Lord direct us. O sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of that creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb. Very small. O descendant of Bharat, while Brahma was observing him, that boar became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation, as gigantic as a great elephant. So he came out very small and very quickly expanded in size. Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma, with great brahmanas like Marichi, as well as the Kumaras and Manu, began to argue in various ways. Is this some extraordinary entity come in the pretense of a boar? It is very wonderful that he has come from my nose. First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. Is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu? While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, roared tumultuously like a great mountain. The omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. When the great sages and thinkers who are residents of Janaloka, Tapoloka and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Bo, which was the all-auspicious sound of the all-merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the three Vedas. Playing like an elephant, he entered into the water after roaring again in reply to the Vedic praise by the great devotees. The Lord is the object of the Vedic prayers, and thus he understood that the devotees' prayers were meant for him. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Bo flew into the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and was therefore transcendental. Yet because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee Brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the water. Diving into the water like a giant mountain, Lord Bo divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord, O Lord of all sacrifices, please do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection. Lord Bo penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Lord Bo very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus he appeared very splendid. Then, his anger glowing like the Sudarshan wheel, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although he tried to fight with the Lord. Thereupon, Lord Bo killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth. Then the Lord, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his white tusks. He assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamal tree, and thus the sages, headed by Brahma, could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and offered respectful obeisances unto the Lord. Shri Varahadeva ki. This description in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this 13th chapter of Lord Varahadev, is a very shockingly beautiful description. He comes in a species that's generally we don't like. We don't want to come near because we'll be contaminated by pigs, and they are always furrowing around in dirty situations, looking for dirty things to relish. But the Lord shows here the extent that he will go to protect the devotees, in this case the demigods and Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth, that he chose to assume the form of a boar. But this form of the boar, as we read, was transcendently attractive. and so beautiful, and hard not to, or hard to take one's eyes away from. Yet when we contrast it with the appearance of the demon, Hiranyaksha, for whom the Lord appeared to kill, it's quite shocking. I'll just read the description of when Hiranyaksha appeared. We know that when demons appear, then all bad omens appear in the sky. And some of the omens that appeared was that violent winds were blowing throughout the earth, uprooting trees. Volcanoes were erupting, and clouds were raining pus down on the planet. And lightning slashed the sky. Owls were screeching fiercely, and wolves howled at the moon. And cows who were so fearful, instead of giving milk, they were giving blood. So when demons hear this description, they get very excited. Wow, somebody powerful is coming. Our worshipable, our Ishtadevta is coming when they see these things. But for the devotees, they get very concerned, full of anxiety, and therefore they surrender even more. And so when the Lord appears, those signs portending the appearance of the Lord are very pleasing to the devotees. Hiranyaksha, it's described, he grew very quickly to the size of a large mountain, and his crown on his head appeared to kiss the sky. And whenever he walked, there were earthquakes on the planet. Even though he was so big, the Bhagavatam describes, larger than his physical size was his pride. And even larger than his pride was his greed. I mean, you can understand how greedy he is simply by understanding the meaning of his name, Hiranyaksha. What does Hiranyaksha mean? He's always looking for gold. Isn't that Hiranya, gold? Where is gold? He can't get enough of gold, to the extent that he started mining the earth, and to get all the gold out of the earth, to the extent that because of the mining process, the earth fell out of balance from her position in the universe and sank down to the depths of the ocean, the Garbhodaka ocean. And therefore the Lord had to appear in that form of a ball, because at the depths of the ocean, what do you find? The dirt. All the dirt and the mud and the debris is there. So the Lord had to appear in the form of a ball, a hog, who is very easily able to navigate into all these types of places to find what it wants. And we hear in the description earlier, the Lord was playing the part of a ball by sniffing and looking. That's how the pigs and the hogs look for what they want, right? They go into the place and they sniff away. That's how the Lord found. So this Hiranyaksha, so greedy, mining into the earth falls out of balance down into the depths of the Garbhodaka ocean. And therefore the Lord has to appear. Srila Prabhupada describes in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, describing the incarnations of the Lord, and in the case of Varahadev, there he describes that just as Brahma is the first devotee or demigod to appear in this universe, Hiranyaksha is the first demon. And there's always a conflict between the demons and the devotees. The demons, of course, they are not interested in following or establishing the will and the order of the Supreme Lord. And the devotees, they are very anxious and concerned about establishing the order and the will of the Lord. And therefore there's always a conflict. Of course, the devotees, they are not at all concerned, what to speak of so much, they're not at all concerned about being better than the demons, or achieving supremacy over the demons. That is not their cause. They are not self-motivated like that. Brahma is not self-motivated like that. generally speaking, the demigods are not motivated like that, like the demons are. They simply want to establish the order desired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is why they exist, the devotees, on this planet, to do that. So to establish harmony, the devotees are willing to battle with the demons. Devotees generally, we don't hear of them wanting to fight. They're not described as such. But when it comes to establishing balance in the universe, to restore the order of the Supreme Lord in the universe, they are ready to fight. Just like Arjuna was ready to fight on the order of Krishna to establish the balance in the universe. The demons, of course, one may think, what is the best way to pacify the demons? Rather give them what they want, right? And then they'll be peaceful. But just like the name Hiranyaksha, they will never be peaceful. They will always be looking for more and more and more. When someone has that level of greed, impelled by material sense gratification, no amount of gifts or anything can pacify such a person. Once a reporter asked the then wealthiest man in America, or maybe in the world, can you describe the philosophy of your life in one word? And very easily he answered the philosophy of life in one word, of his life in one word. And he said, more. He just wants more and more. What he has is never enough. It's not enough. So they want more. So devotees understand that the only way to pacify demons is to take away that greedy tendency and is to establish in their hearts service to Krishna. Who is it? Prahlad Maharaj prays in the 5th canto, Swastyasta Vishvasya Kala Prasidatam Dhyayanta Bhutani Shivam Mitodaya Manascha Bhadram Pajata Dadoksajay Aveshyatam No Matir Apyahaitaki. He's praying that there must be peace throughout the universe. Let the demoniac types of people, let the envious people be pacified. And how does he say that they must be pacified? Let them engage in Bhakti Yoga to that transcendent Lord, Adoksaja. Because it is only in the practice of Bhakti Yoga that one can fully understand one's position, one's identity, and in that platform one can only truly be peaceful. So the devotees of the Lord, they are willing to go into battle to establish this fact. In this pastime, we find a very important lesson even for the devotees. What can we learn from this lesson? And we find that it is a lesson about staying fixed in Krishna consciousness, staying balanced in our Krishna consciousness. This word balance is very often used in our society today. We are always told, or sometimes we are advising people are advised, one must lead a balanced life. Practice your Krishna consciousness very nicely, and at the same time balance it with some, taking care of your material needs. And in that way, you can be balanced. And sometimes devotees are even advised, don't do too much of sadhana. Don't be irresponsible with your material life. But Prabhupada, when asked about balance, Prabhupada's mood about balance was, I'll just read it, that the balance is between hearing and chanting about Krishna in the morning and in the evening, and working for Krishna throughout the day. This was Prabhupada's understanding of balance. Throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month and the year, throughout our lives, we balance it day by day. every day in the morning, every day in the evening. And throughout the day we work for Krishna. Some of us are working externally more directly for Krishna, serving in a temple, serving as a pujari, cooking for the devotees, doing sankirtan, preaching, fundraising. And some are externally maybe working seemingly indirectly, having office jobs, studying at school, but all with the idea that the fruits of what they are doing will be used in Krishna's service. So we have our morning program, we have our evening program, and in between we serve Krishna according to our duty and our capacity. And that is the balance. But once we lose that balance, then we can lose our position of being fixed in Krishna consciousness. Just like when the earth became imbalanced, what happened? She fell down to the depths of the Garbhodaka ocean. And when we are not properly fixed and balanced in our position in Krishna consciousness, we too can fall prey to Maya. Just like when we are standing on 2 feet and we are, like firm on the ground, it's hard for someone to push us over, isn't it? It's not that easy. But if you're standing on one leg, it's very easy for someone to just touch you and you fall over, isn't it? What to speak of standing, if you can, on one toe? Someone can even maybe blow at you, you'll fall over, right? So we have to be very fixed throughout the day, morning, evening, and throughout the day in Krishna consciousness. This is proper balance. And even then we may find that the onslaught of Maya can be very strong. Maya is very expert. She is the most expert tactician in the warfare to test devotees in their resolve to serve Krishna. She's very expert. So sometimes we may still fall prey to Maya and we may lose balance. It happens even to the best of devotees from time to time. We've seen they get even momentarily bewildered and consider sense gratification, and some even take it up. Still, it is not a cause to be completely dejected and discouraged and to leave Krishna consciousness. Because just as a parent looks for opportunities, especially when a child is just learning to walk, it gives the parent the greatest joy to help the child walk. And the parent is expecting that the child is going to stumble and fall. And it gives the parent joy to come forward and pick the child up. Okay, let's start walking again. And the child is very tentative and unsteady, but the parent is always there. But the idea is the child wants to walk. The child is learning to walk and is determined to walk. So we are still like children trying to learn how to walk on the path of devotional service. And sometimes some stumble will be there, some fall will be there. You don't find adults laughing at a child who's learning how to walk or criticizing a child who's learning how to walk, right? Such a silly child, doesn't know how to walk. What's wrong with this child? Just look at me, I can walk so well. He's falling down on his behind and struggling to get up. So when we see devotees struggling on the path of devotional service, we should consider, this is part of growing up in devotional service. It happens. And we should be very encouraging that even on behalf of the Lord, to lend a helping hand and assist them to stand up and walk. And the Lord will always come to the rescue of His devotees as they have difficulties in devotional service, as long as the devotee is determined to try and walk, to learn how to walk. So this is our process of devotional service. We cannot just stay afloat, stay balanced on our own efforts. It's hard to do that. We need the help of the spiritual master. We need the help of the devotees. We need to be surrounded by persons who will keep us afloat. Just like Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami prays in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Durgamaya Patimannasya. that may the saints grant me the stick of their mercy. I am lame, I am ill-advised, and my path is very difficult. I am slipping here and there. So he's praying for the saints to please give him the stick of their mercy. Sometimes, of course, the mercy comes in the form of the stick in some ways, where we get chastised and corrected. And sometimes it comes in the form of just being held up. That's basically what it is. The instructions, the advice, and the corrections of the devotee, of the spiritual master, is the stick of our mercy that holds us up in devotional service. But we must take the mercy. We must imbibe the mercy of the instructions and follow it. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked by a devotee to please bless them by giving them mercy so that they can follow his instructions. And Prabhupada was like, made a disgusted face at that consideration, like, give you mercy so that you can follow my instructions. It sounds like a nice prayer, right? My dear Prabhupada, please give me your mercy so I can follow your instructions. But Prabhupada wasn't impressed, rather was somewhat disgusted. And he gave the example, the story of a man who falls into a deep well and crying out for help, for someone to save him. Eventually someone comes and throws down a rope. And that person, that good Samaritan, tells, my dear sir who's in the well, please catch onto the rope tightly and I'll pull you up. And the man at the bottom of the well is telling the man at the top, please, can you give me some strength so I can curl my fingers around this rope? The rope of mercy has been given in the form of the instructions. We have to simply try and follow them. Try our very, very best. And when that happens, when we hold on tightly to the rope of mercy, the instructions given by the Vaishnavas, by the spiritual master, by Srila Prabhupada, then they can pull us up. Otherwise, if we don't hold on, we will stay in the well. We won't go anywhere. So, therefore, it's imperative that we stay closely, tightly packed in the association of Vaishnavas. They will protect us, they will guide us, and of course, we should be positive in the association of devotees. One very important lesson that comes out, that's not very clearly mentioned in the Bhagavatam, that comes out in this pastime, is the effect of offenses amongst devotees. We know that Varahadev, when he went into the ocean, he picked up Bhumi Devi. And it's described in other places that at that time, Bhumi Devi was impregnated by Varahadev. And she later gave birth to a son. And that son's name is, or was, Narakasura, who you read in Krishna book or Bhagavatam. Krishna then went and later killed him. But that technically, Narakasura is whose son? Is the son of the Supreme Lord. But because of bad association, Naraka began to offend the devotees, began to crucify the sadhus, began to disturb them very greatly, to the extent that Krishna could not tolerate it any further and ended up killing his own son because of his tendency to commit offenses. So we must be cautious while we're staying very fixed up by the mercy of the devotees in their association. We must be careful not to commit offenses. Because our plight can also, the result can also be that we will be destroyed by those offenses, just like Narakasura was destroyed by the Supreme Lord. But anyway, the main point is to stay balanced and fixed in devotional service by the mercy of the devotees, by their generosity, and thereby we will receive their mercy, and we will eventually learn to walk very nicely in devotional service and help others also walk and run in devotional service. We will stop here. It's already late. Thank you very, very much for the opportunity to share some realizations. Maybe we can take a minute if anyone has any comments or reflections or something they'd like to add, or we can conclude at this point. Anyone? Okay. Thank you very much. Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Varahadev ki, Varahadwadasi Mahatsava ki, Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare Ram.
स्वरूप दामोदर प्रभु की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की। हरे कृष्णा। सही वक्त कृपया ध्यान दीजिए। शाम को 7:15 बजे मंदिर प्रांगण में प्रवचन करेंगे श्री श्रीमद गिरिराज स्वामी महाराज। और साथ ही आज कल बहुत ही विशेष उत्सव है। कल है नित्यानंद त्रयोदशी, तो उस क्रम में नगर संकीर्तन का आयोजन किया गया है।
नगर संकीर्तन शाम को 4 बजे से होगा। तो यहाँ से गेट नंबर 2 से गाड़ियां जाएंगी घंटाघर के लिए, तो सभी लोग इकट्ठे हो सकते हैं।